This is Twit.
Bandwidth for the new screensavers is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This episode is brought to you by IT Pro TV. A good IT Pro is always learning, and IT Pro TV is the resource to keep your IT skills up to date with engaging and informative video tutorials. For a free 7-day trial and 30% off the lifetime of your account, go to itpro.tv/NSS and use the code NSS30. And by Braintree. Looking to set up payments for your business? Braintree gives your app or website a payment solution that accepts just about every payment method with one simple integration. Plus, Braintree will give you the first $50,000 in transactions fee-free. To learn more, visit braintreepayments.com/NSS. And by audible.com. To download a free audiobook of your choice, go to audiblepodcast.com/NSS.
The man behind grunge has a new way to listen to music, a giant loudspeaker, and the carnival that mixes science and art. Live from the Twit Brick House in beautiful downtown Petaluma, it's the new Screensavers.
Welcome to the new Screensavers, episode 27, recorded on Saturday, November 7th, 2015. I'm Jason Howell.
And I'm Scott Wilkinson.
It's good to be here with you, man.
Thanks, man. It's really great to be here. I'm filling in for Leo.
Yeah?
You know, he's off
partying.
doing his thing. He's partying.
And we're not actually joking when we say he's partying. He's visiting his son in Colorado. And we're pretty sure he's doing cake stands and toga parties and all that kind of stuff.
I wouldn't be doubted.
He's said as much on air, so we know this is probably happening.
Yeah.
We're not just telling stories. Super stoked to be here, man, and it's great to have you on the Screensavers. Is this your first kind of full-time episode in front of the camera for the Screensavers?
First for the Screensavers, absolutely. Right. Now, I do a podcast here on the Twit Network called Home Theater Geeks. Been doing that for close to 6 years now, coming up on 6 years.
That's awesome.
But I do that from my home. I do that over Skype, and it works really great. But sure is great to be in the studio with all the lights and all the tech all around me. It's fantastic.
That's right. Let it seep in. We got a lot of really cool stuff. Obviously, Scott, with Home Theater Geeks, is very passionate about audio and music and all that kind of stuff. So am I. So we've got a
guitar player.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
I enjoy just making, recording music.
There you go.
Releasing it on an independent basis, whatever I can get my hands on when I have the time. Then 2 kids came along and erased all of my free time, so that time is dwindling. But
yeah, I got you.
Someday. So we've got a lot of really great topics to talk about today along those lines. We have the founder of Sub Pop Records on to talk about his newest venture, 8STEM. It's a really cool audio format technology.
This is really cool.
It's a multi-track audio technology.
Yeah.
Kind of for the masses.
Yeah.
We're going to be speaking of all about kind of acoustics. Sorry, I suddenly can't talk. And it even says here, say that 5 times fast. There you go.
Exactly.
Anthony Grimani.
Yep.
Here to talk about a high-end loudspeaker.
Oh man, I heard this thing and it is awesome. Really awesome. He's got some great things to say about speakers and rooms and how to make things sound the best as possible. Can't wait to talk to him.
Right on. And mixing science, engineering, and art.
My favorite thing.
With a carnival, of all things.
I am so there.
We're going to talk with one of the inventors behind the STEAM Carnival, which I would probably be there right now if I weren't here hosting.
I would be too,
because it's in San Francisco right now. So first things first, what do you think about VR?
You know, I've seen some VR. I've seen the Oculus Rift. What I've seen of it has not really impressed me that much. It looked a little too pixelated, and more to the point, it kind of made me a little nauseous, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I can do that for sure. Part of that is kind of like the forced perspective when you put on the glasses. It just doesn't quite match reality.
Yeah, I know that this is a huge thing in Hollywood. People are really thinking about how are we going to bring VR to more people. the whole concept of making a movie in VR really is very puzzling because with a movie, the director wants to direct your attention, right, to something or another. And what happens if something cool's going on over here and you're like going, wow, what's going on over there?
I know, right?
You know, I can't imagine how they would make a movie that way, but apparently they're really thinking about it.
Yeah, well, so the folks behind the Litro camera, which is light field image sensing, that's the technology. Litro is the, where you can take an image and it pulls in enough kind of light information so that based on that still image, you can kind of shift your focus and see around it and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
They're working on a cinematic VR solution called the Litro Emerge. And we're talking like this is higher end stuff here. $250,000 to $500,000. $250,000 to $500,000.
Okay.
So this is meant for like Christopher Nolan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To do his kind of crazy stuff. Right. Capturing color, intensity, direction of light beams. It's this spherical, kind of crazy sci-fi looking array of HD cameras.
It really looks cool.
Mounted on a tripod base, and it's fed into this server stack. So this is not meant, to like post something cool to your social network. This is totally meant for the theater, I would imagine. And beyond.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've seen microphones like that. Spherical microphones with a bunch of capsules that capture sounds from all over the place.
That's cool.
But to marry it with that, man, that'd be awesome.
And so you can kind of imagine you're putting on the goggles, and let's say it's in the middle of the studio, for example. They provide this woodworking video, so you can kind of see like the camera, and this is, by the way, not actual footage, this is simulated, but the camera is mounted, but you're still able to move based on where your head kind of is placed in space while you're wearing the goggles. So you can look around things. You can actually be a part of the environment and not just turn around in circles, but rather kind of go in, go out, all that kind of stuff.
I've seen this experimentally. Fraunhofer in Europe, which developed the MP3 format and MPEG, various MPEG compression schemes, has been doing light field technology for a while. This seems to me to be the first sort of commercial application.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
I'm really looking forward to it. It looks very cool. It's just incredibly expensive. We're not going to buy this. Prototypes for testing in early 2016 to kind of get started.
I wonder if we'll see it at CES.
Oh man, wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah.
Yeah, if that's the case, this is gonna be a hot booth for sure.
Yeah.
Also kind of in the news, and certainly in my camp, because here at TWiT I'm kind of the Android guy, Google is looking into designing its own chips for their own Android phones.
Really?
They're talking with microchip manufacturers. This is all based on a report from The Information, by the way, Mira Fradi, on designing their own chips. And basically the kind of overarching goal, I mean, if I was to ask you what the biggest weakness of Android, based on what everybody seems to talk about, everybody seems to, I mean, what would you say? Would it be fragmentation? Would it be?
Well, it seems to me to be, fragmentation in the sense of it can do this or it can do that, and it's so customizable, which is great for geeks.
Right.
But it's also more prone to failure, to problems.
Not matching, everything not matching in quite the right way.
Yeah, well, I'm an iOS guy. I've been a Mac guy all my life. My first computer was a Mac. Well, it wasn't. It was a Trash 80. But after that,
it's a beautiful computer. Don't trash the Trash 80.
Exactly. All right. But other than that, it's always been Mac. And then when I went to smartphones, I said, okay, I'm going to go iOS because they're tightly integrated, really cool, bulletproof in essence. And that's always seemed to me to be a problem with Android, is that it's not bulletproof.
Yeah, I think that's a big complaint that people have, is that that you can do so much with all the different kind of configurations of the hardware. It's kind of hard to get it all kind of singing together in the same song.
Yeah.
This would be kind of a step in moving towards more of an Apple sort of approach, which wouldn't necessarily say that the different variety of devices in the sphere wouldn't exist, but that Google would still create its own hardware with its own microchips that are tailored to the hardware that they've designed and built and put in there, so that there is, let's say, an iPhone that analog for Android.
A more seamless integration.
Oh man, I'm really looking forward to it. And that in combination with some other rumors that we've been hearing about Chrome OS and Android kind of merging and just kind of becoming more of a working together sort of product. It really seems like Google is taking this idea at heart and just kind of thinking.
Who would have thought that Google was a
ship
software company, basically, right?
Well, they've changed a lot.
Get into hardware. I mean, that's amazing.
For sure. So yeah, pretty cool stuff in the news today. But we, I guess we're going to talk to someone cool here in the Call for Help. right, we have on the line with us, I believe, Alexander from Helena. How's it going, Alexander?
Very well. How are you doing, gentlemen?
Doing awesome. It's good to have you here today. Thanks for joining us. So you say, well, tell us what your issue is. What's going on?
Yeah, so my parents are building a new home, and they are hoping to never have to move out of there. It'd be the home to end all homes. And so I'm wondering what they can do now before construction starts in earnest, what to do to hopefully future-proof their home in terms of their technology needs in the future.
Wow.
What do you think?
Well,
because my home's a mess when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Well,
I have no authority to talk about this part.
well, I have a pre-existing home as well, and it was built on a few times. So, you know, getting everything connected from the front of the house to the back of the house, starting from scratch is a great thing. It's really a wonderful opportunity. Certainly, I would say you need to run Cat 6 or Cat 6E, depending on how long the distance is, to every room. I would put outlets, Cat 6 outlets in each room, which would let you have networking throughout the house. Now you might say, well, what about Wi-Fi? You can do Wi-Fi, right?
Exactly. It seems like we're moving in more of a wireless direction.
We are, but I will tell you this, as a home theater geek, I'm most interested in media streaming.
Sure.
I mean, Wi-Fi is fine for, you know, your cell phone or your smartphone or whatever, but when you're really trying to stream media, high definition, or what's coming now, ultra high definition, having a wired connection is so good. It's so much better than Wi-Fi, because you lose a lot of bandwidth on Wi-Fi. If somebody else is doing something in the same frequency range, it's really going to be a problem. So I would say run Cat 6 all throughout the house. And somebody made the suggestion, and I think it was really good, run conduit throughout the house, so that the next big thing, be it fiber optic or whatever.
Because you never really know what the next big thing is.
You never know what the next big thing is, but if you have conduit set in the walls,
for sure,
you can run anything easily. In fact, I thought about this and I thought, well, I would want actually 2 Cat 6s to every room, because I would use one of them to distribute HDMI, which is the way to distribute audio and video digitally in the best possible way. Right now. But you can't run it that long.
Yeah.
So you need to convert it to Cat 6, and then that can run for hundreds of feet, no problem. And then you convert it back to HDMI at the other end. It's a system called a BALN, for balanced, unbalanced. And it's just a conversion, basically, from HDMI. So you can use short HDMI cables to this little box, and then Cat 6 as long as you want to go, and then back into HDMI. If you're going to build a home theater, and believe me, I recommend that you do, definitely, because if this is the forever home, you're going to want a cool place to go watch movies and so on. I would run a 20 amp dedicated electrical circuit, AC power, to that room, and have everything be connected to that by AC power. And very important, to have all the outlets on that one circuit grounded to the same ground, so that you avoid ground loop problems. Ground loops are when the ground of this outlet and the ground of this outlet are slightly different. And what it can end up with is,
and you do, oh man, nothing destroys the home theater experience quite like that persistent buzz.
Terrible. So ground them all commonly, and you won't have that problem. And you have a dedicated 20 amp circuit to feed the projector and the TV and the amplifiers and everything that you've got plugged in there. That's what I did in my home when we first moved in, and man, oh man, it worked great. So.
Now, is this, so I have to ask, Alexander, is this a question that you are asking for them, or did they explicitly say, hey, we're building this house, help us future-proof? And if that's the case, what exactly are they looking to future-proof it for? Is it just home theater stuff, or beyond?
Well, certainly home theater is part of it. You know, the 2 biggest complaints I always hear from them are Wi-Fi signal and cell phone signal. You know, if they run Cat 6, like you're saying, you know, certainly that takes care of their networking needs. That sounds great. Any ideas or tips on helping them boost their cell signal in the home?
I don't know. I don't know about that. I mean, it depends on what you're getting. I mean, if this is it rural or urban? Are they in an urban community or?
Suburban, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I would recommend, I don't know if I have a blanket suggestion for you on that regard, but depending on who their carrier is and what phone they have, they might have Wi-Fi call capability baked in. I know on my Nexus 6P, I'm on T-Mobile, I can activate that. And basically what that does is it uses the Wi-Fi connectivity that's plentiful in your house and substitutes that for your cell network coverage. So you're still running your plan's data and minutes and all that kind of stuff. It's just routing it through a more stable connection, your Wi-Fi, that hopefully, if they've done everything right, is very strong, versus what might be weak, which is their cell connection.
Exactly. And speaking of making sure it's strong, you want to, if it's a big house, then you want to make sure you've got Wi-Fi extenders in various places around the house, because Wi-Fi can go through walls, but after a while it starts petering out pretty bad. And depending on what the walls are made of, if there's a lot of metal in them, if they're using metal studs, for example, then that could interfere pretty badly. So
absolutely,
if you have an Ethernet jack in each room, you can just put a Wi-Fi extender in any room and it'll work.
Yeah. Cool. That give you some things to kind of complicate your life for the next couple of months?
Absolutely.
All right. You're going to spend far too much time thinking about that, but I think those are the answers that you're looking for. I really appreciate you calling in, Alexander. Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks so much, guys.
All right. Take care, man. You want us to answer your tech questions, or probably more like Leo and the gang that's here when he's there? Here's how you can send them in.
Need tech help? The new screensavers are here with answers. Email your tech questions to newscreensavers@twit.tv.
All right, before we kind of move on, we got to pay some bills. We're going to thank our first sponsor of today's episode, and that is IT Pro TV. If you are in IT, or you want to be in IT, and you want to kind of fill your brain with knowledge on all sorts of topics, on getting just smarter with all the things that come along in the complicated world of IT. That's what IT Pro TV is all about. It's a video network that's dedicated exclusively to the world of information technology. So if you want to jumpstart your career in IT, or you're already working there, IT Pro TV actually supplements any traditional learning that you're already doing in a fun, engaging way. It just makes learning a breeze and prepares you for certification exams. And happy second anniversary. Big things are happening at IT Pro TV. Now has 30,000 members in over 75 countries. And with over 1,000 hours of content, 2 studios, 50 hours being added each week. If you watch their live stream, things look, very familiar. They're actually big fans of Twit. It's all streamed to you live and on demand. If you've got a Chromecast already, a computer, mobile device, you can play it in all those places. New IT Pro TV website and interface with brand new features like speeding up video and audio to make things kind of faster so you can maximize your listening and your watching in a shorter amount of time. Transcender practice exams are also included with your subscription. That's a $135 value right there. You also get over 100 step-by-step virtual machine labs, all new and included with your membership. And if you're already studying with a book, you're enrolled in a certification technical degree program, it's a fantastic supplement to kind of learn at your own pace and manage your learning on your own. It's just one low monthly subscription price. So check out itpro.tv/NSS. You can upgrade your brain with the most popular IT certifications recognized by employers. Subscriptions are normally $57 per month or $570 for the entire year, but we have a special offer for you. You're going to get a free 7-day trial when you sign up using your offer code NSS30, which will allow you to check out their courses, their live stream, and more. You'll also receive 30% off your subscription for the lifetime of your account. That's less than $40 per month or $399 for the entire year. From November 9th through the 11th, you can see Todd Lamley's live on IT Pro TV, recording his new course on Cisco Firepower and Advanced Firesite Administration. Todd Lamley should be in the Cisco Hall of Fame. He's a rock star when it comes to Cisco networking. Todd has written over 25 books. He'll be discussing his new book, SourceFire SSFIPS, or Firepower, with over 1 million copies in print. That's November 9th through the 11th. IT Pro TV's live streams are available for free with a free basic account, and you can watch Todd Lamley live starting at 9:30 a.m. Eastern every day. Of course, all the content will also be made available for on-demand streaming anytime to subscribers. But this is a great opportunity to watch and chat with Todd live and hear his expert advice on Cisco. Visit itpro.tv/NSS and use the code NSS30 to try it free for 7 days and save 30% off the cost of your subscription. We thank IT Pro TV for their support of the new screensavers. All right, coming up, Bruce Pavitt, the founder of Sub Pop Records, is on the line. He's going to talk with us about a new multi-track audio format he's launching called 8STEM. But first, whether you say GIF or GIF, I kind of side on both sides. What do you do?
I say GIF.
All right, well, sometimes I say GIF, and then I catch myself saying GIF. Here's Lauren Hawkinson with her favorite tool for making your own.
Hi, I'm Lauren Hawkinson, San Francisco reporter for The Next Web. Now, whether you pronounce it GIF or GIF, sometimes making those graphical interchange formats are hard. Now, I'm going to tell you about an app that's really easy to use so you can get that GIF or GIF that you've always wanted. It's called GIF Grabber, GIFGRABBER, and it is an app that will save you millions of seconds of waiting to make that great GIF. All you need to do is set it up, align it to what you're looking at. Generally, I like to use YouTube videos, and cut the section that you want. It's that simple. You can go into the editing portion and you can trim it to fit the size or the length that you want, and then that's it. You have your very own GIF or GIF. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter. I'm there at L Hawkinson.
Thank you, Lauren. By the way, I had an episode this last week on Android App Arena, 3 GIF or GIF tools for Android. So if you want to check that out, you can, twit.tv/arena. But hey, let's talk about audio formats, audio awesomeness, actually. Bruce Pavitt, co-founder and creative director of 8STEM, also happens to be the founder of Sub Pop Records, as well as CEO Adam Farish, are joining us on Skype. How's it going, you guys?
Good afternoon. Great, thanks.
It's going great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you bet. First of all, before I start, I just have to say, Bruce, I got to give you kind of a thank you, because years and years ago, when I was growing up, Sub Pop was kind of like at the pinnacle of the music that I was listening to at the time. Really got me inspired and interested in music. So, and
It's so good to hear.
I rarely have the opportunity to say thanks to some of my heroes. So I really appreciate it, all the work that you did in that regard. But we have you guys on to talk about something neat that's not necessarily Sub Pop. It's something entirely different. It's STEM recording, essentially, an audio file format called 8STEM. Before we kind of dive right into it, how about one of you just tells us, what is STEM recording? What is 8STEM all about?
STEM STEMs is a way that audio producers have been exchanging files amongst themselves for the purpose of remixing for many years. And where that comes from is when you're recording music, you record every single instrument on a different audio channel, so that there will be a bass drum and a snare drum and a hi-hat and a lead vocal and a backing vocal. And when you go to exchange those files for the purpose of remixing, you kind of distill the process down so that you have a simpler file rather than having all the audio files separately. So you'll just have a channel of drums instead of having all those parts separate, or vocals instead of having all the vocals separate. And those are known in the audio world as STEM files.
It's the same in movie soundtracks as well.
Mm-hmm.
You have the dialogue stem, you have the music stem, you have the sound effects stem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know, at least in my own kind of music production world, you know, I think of it kind of on a mixing board. You've got your buses. And your buses end up being kind of similar. You know, it's like I've got my vocal bus, and I've got my, you know, my music or my drums or whatever. So, so then, okay, so this is an audio format for, I guess, the masses. Yet it really does involve the listener to be active instead of passive. Is that who you're targeting? Are you targeting just the general consumer of music, or are you targeting professionals?
Well, those specific sort of roles and responsibilities between artist and producer and listener are getting to be a little less segregated and defined as technology allows a greater degree of participation amongst amongst all of the people involved in the musical conversation. It's kind of like when in the 80s or 90s, you had to go to a professional for the purpose of computer dating. And now you have dating apps on your mobile device. And so as the technology improves, it just allows more people to participate in ways that they weren't able to do so before. Similar to when I was in school, a kid, just like you said, Jason, learning guitar. That was my first instrument. And now, in order to participate in music, you don't actually have to learn an instrument. You kind of have to just learn a new technology. So it makes it much easier for everybody to participate.
I love this aspect of it, that you're getting listeners who are usually very passive to actually participate in making the music exactly what they want. Have you done tests with consumers, with sort of regular people, to find out if this is something they actually want to do?
I think that, defining a regular person
that's a difficult thing. Okay, fair enough.
A little complicated because a 17-year-old regular person has an entirely different skill set than even a 35-year-old regular person.
I guess what I meant was a consumer of music versus a producer of music.
Yeah, absolutely. So on the consumer side, our greatest pleasure is watching younger, I call them kids because they're under 30.
Yes.
And watching their delight as they actually experience our mobile application for the first time, because the experience of music in its individual pieces is something that music producers have been doing for decades, and it's really nothing special to us who do this professionally. Sure. But for the general consumer to actually have that experience for the first time is it really is indistinguishable from magic for them. So it's an entirely new way of engaging in the experience of music.
We just unveiled this product to my son, Cedar. He's 17 years old, and he got to check this out just a few days ago, and he was pretty blown away.
That's very cool.
I can only imagine, a big part of that is kind of what you're saying is right now we live in a world on the internet where it's not just about consumption, it's about participation, and it's about getting yourself involved in the creation in some way, shape, or form, be it video remixing, pulling a video off of YouTube and making your own and inserting, a funny cat clip in the middle or something, anything to make it your own. Now, Bruce, you are a DJ as well as all the amazing stuff that you've done in the music industry all your life. Do you use 8STEM in a DJ capacity? Because I know that this is just something that DJs, I know Native Instruments has their own kind of STEM audiophile format. I believe it's more targeted towards electronic music and DJs. It seems like it would be a perfect fit for that kind of application.
Yes, in particular, the ability to strip out all the instruments and just have a vocal that I can layer on any other beats is particularly useful.
That's like the holy grail right there. I mean, up until this whole STEM thing came along, you had to really get nerdy with processing in order to remove the music as best as you could to isolate the vocals. But that raises another question, which is, okay, so for years there's been this whole issue of unauthorized sampling and that sort of stuff. How is STEM and 8STEM in particular seen by folks in the labels and all that kind of stuff that are worried about their music getting used in unauthorized ways as a result?
Well, I can give you an example that came around just yesterday. I was forwarded an article from Rolling Stone that Bob Dylan had just released 2 songs as individual STEM files via the web for people to listen to the individual parts and manipulate them for the very first time. And it was such big news that when I went to actually go have that experience, the website was completely dysfunctional and no audio would come out. Because Bob Dylan he's definitely not the first person that I would have thought would actually jump on that and do that, but he actually does appear to be the first real mega artist from the 1960s folk scene to be willing to experiment in that way. And really, we're at the cusp of the development in technology which allows us to engage with music in this way. So everything at this point in time is highly experimental.
Sure.
And nobody knows really what way it's going to go. But one thing for certain, and that Bruce and I have had the good fortune to actually convince record executives of, is that the stereo file format is not the end of the road. And this is entirely new and exciting, and is very, very much poised to open up a universe of music that has not existed before.
Sure. Real quick before we wrap this up, Bruce, you were there, the birth of a type of indie that obviously went pretty nutso. What then in the 80s, let's say, were the big challenges technically, kind of compared to where we are now, and what 8STEM is kind of aiming to do to the music industry, moving it forward?
Well, I'm going to totally reframe your question a little bit.
Go for it.
And just in reflecting back on the 80s indie culture, 80s indie culture was built on the premise that local kids could come together, start a band, and put out a record. Okay? That was kind of a radical notion at the time. And that's the culture that laid the framework for Nirvana's success. Again, it was based on self-empowerment and creativity. And we really feel that this tool is going to do the same for kids who want to be bedroom producers. And I'm really honored to be working with Adam here. We really do feel that the future music is going to be interactive. It's going to be about customization, and it's going to be about bringing a novel experience rather than just streaming music.
Bruce Pavitt and Adam Ferris, it's just been an honor and a privilege talking with you guys. Thank you so much for coming on the new Screensavers.
Yeah, thanks a bunch.
Thank you.
Best of luck with 8STEM. All right, everybody. He happens to be co-hosting next week's show. Here's the Register's Ian Thompson with some great ways to save battery life on your smartphone.
Hi, I'm Ian Thompson, a reporter with The Register. Here's my latest tip on how to keep your phone in power for a little bit longer. First off, what you need to do is shut the phone down occasionally, because that helps clear the cache out and it saves an awful lot of the applications from running. Secondly, keep a constant look on what applications are running in the background. Some of these, like Twitter, can really pull the battery life out. And then the final tip is a really simple one. Black wallpaper. When you consider the amount of time that you actually have your display screen open, a piece of black wallpaper can save you an awful lot of battery life.
All right, thank you, Ian, for that awesome tip. Now, when it comes to high-end audio, and you're looking at some pretty high-end audio right here, our next guest is one of the best. We're going to take a look at this new speaker system from Anthony Grimani. But first, I want to tell you about Braintree. Braintree is for all of you developers that are watching the new Screensavers right now. It's perfect for you if you want to integrate mobile payments into your app. Maybe you're working on the next Uber, the next Airbnb or GitHub. With just a few lines of code, you're instantly ready to accept Apple Pay, Android Pay, PayPal, Venmo, credit cards, even Bitcoin, and whatever happens to come next. It's critical these days in any online business to make payments an easy experience. We talked with Ankur Arya, the general manager for Braintree Mobile, about how the standards for mobile payments have evolved.
One-click, one-touch buying on mobile is now becoming table stakes, right? I always give the example of the average mobile user may have 50 apps on their phone. 10 of those apps have to do with some sort of commerce. 5 or 6 of them work as seamlessly as Uber and Munchery and Airbnb and Lyft. The consumer is going to have that same expectation from kind of all of their buying experiences on that device. And so I think that's kind of the macro trend that we're seeing, is seamless buying on a mobile device is becoming sort of the key to converting users and keeping your mobile users happy.
Braintree's fast payouts and continuous support mean you'll always be ready, whether you're earning your first dollar or your billionth. Let's hope you earn your billionth someday. See fewer abandoned carts and more sales with Braintree's best-in-class mobile checkout experience. Here's the offer. Braintree is giving you a full stack payment solution. That's support for all payment types your customers might want. Single integration across all platforms with superior fraud protection, customer support, and fast payouts. Check it out for yourself. Just visit BraintreePayments.com/NSS. And we thank Braintree for their support of the new screensavers. All right, let's talk more audio, because I love audio. I know, Scott, you love audio as well. We're here with Anthony Grimani, acoustician, which I couldn't say at the beginning of the show.
You learned it.
I'm learning. And home theater designer. Welcome.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here. So what do you got here? What are we looking at?
We're looking at a revolution in loudspeaker technology. I like saying that.
Yes, yes.
I like
and you say it very well, too.
Thank you.
Yes, well, I've known you for many years, and you've been on my show, the Home Theater Geeks, a number of times, talking about acoustics, and in particular room acoustics. And you've been involved with a lot of home theater installers, consulting with them to make sure the room is properly treated, which is a very important subject. But that's not the end of the story, is it?
Right. So I spent a lot of years in my career working on electronics, and then I transitioned into the realization that the room is a really important part of the story, and spent the last 20 years working on rooms, and rooms have people, and rooms have speakers. And over that 20 years, ended up coming up with a list of about 50 problems that kept showing up with the typical speaker technologies out there. And with my chief engineer, Manuel Karuba, we decided to solve that problem. So
you mean those 50 problems?
Those 50 problems. that big problem, that group of 50.
Yeah, right.
So I have a quick little PowerPoint presentation, actually, 2 slides. Can we switch to that? Let's see if it comes up. Yeah. The problems we solve. So the problem is actually pretty simple. I'm going to talk evolution a little bit. Let's look at 40 years of evolution. Go back to 1975. If you watch TV, watched a movie on a TV, you'd have a little 19-inch set with a fuzzy picture, and obviously video quality has evolved. And this picture, this little slide is kind of scaled. You know, you're going from something small to something really big. So we all know we can get a big, beautiful 85, 90, 100, 120-inch picture pretty easily today. Meanwhile, the technologies and quality around loudspeakers essentially stayed stuck in that mid-70s paradigm.
I've always noticed that, speaker technology has not really moved like video technology, for example.
Correct. Now, it wouldn't matter if sound didn't matter, but audio and sound does matter. As my ex-boss, George Lucas, said, sound is 50% of the movie-going experience. So if you got bad sound, you're missing half of the movie.
Yeah, people would generally say if you've got amazing visuals on the screen, but bad audio, it actually degrades the what people see on the screen. It has that much of an influence.
Absolutely. It does, absolutely.
Some people would say more than 50% is in the sound.
Absolutely. I'll be fair, 50-50. The emotional content is in the sound. The sound does affect you emotionally a whole lot more than picture will ever. You know, you can cry if you hear an absolutely beautiful piece of music, and it's hard to cry by just looking at a picture, even if it's ultra high def 3D.
Yep. Absolutely. So, okay, so you identified these 50 problems or so based upon your work with the installers who actually put them in, and you've consulted with them. And what are some of the basis of these problems?
So one of the bases that we solve actually with this top part here of the loudspeaker is the dispersion of sound in a room. For the last 40, 50, 60 years, speakers radiate into a room with sound, with sort of a sound bubble that changes with frequency. And so what you're hearing in front of the speaker is one thing. What the person sitting to your left is hearing, left that way, is hearing a slightly different thing. And moreover, what the room is lit up with is yet a different thing. Meanwhile, you're sitting in the room and you're hearing a direct sound from the speaker to you, so in that direction.
As long as you're sitting right in front of that speaker.
You're sitting
right
there.
In the sweet spot.
And then, you know, just slightly later, there's all the sound coming back from the room, and in fact, there's about 2 or 3 times more sound coming back from the room. So what I'm always fighting when I'm actually going out to do what's called the final commissioning of a system, which is the tuning, I'm fighting the fact that the speaker could be a good speaker, it sends really nice direct sound, but the room may not actually get the right sound because the speaker is sending sound off axis, and that's where we start to do all this room treatment stuff to try to control that. But if you go back to the source and actually make a speaker that spreads into the room, I like doing this, spreads into the room very evenly, so that in the bass region, which is carried by the big boomer over here, or by the high frequency, which is actually played on this speaker by a beautiful little small tweeter over here. If it's all spraying into the room evenly, you have better consistency from room to room and better sound throughout the room. which means
location to location.
From location. So, so you can actually sit there, or sit here, or sit here, sit over there, and you get a much more consistent sound field, so that I can hear an emotional, engaging movie, and you can too, and you can too, and everybody in the room can.
Another problem, though, that you've identified is the complexity of these systems, right? You've got amplifiers, you've got cables running everywhere, and it's so complex to set them up. And what happens if you know, one of them isn't working, or you got the polarity reversed on it? You know, how do you track down these problems? It becomes a big deal.
That's one of the issues with that 1970s paradigm is, you know, if you look at how these things have been hooked up, they haven't really changed since then very much, except that back then there was only 2 channels. Now there's up to 9, 10, 11, 12 channels. So all these things have multiplied to a point of complete chaos. So in these commissioning processes, I'm fighting the fact that there's so many cables that can go wrong. It's just overwhelming. Just the law of statistics that says that the chance that it's actually hooked up correctly is infinitely nil.
Infinitely small.
Infinitely nil.
I realize that every time I go home and visit my parents and they say, why isn't it working?
Right.
I have to get back there and troubleshoot it, and I'm like, I can't.
Too many points of contact. So what we did in this loudspeaker is we made it a fully powered speaker. All you have to do with the speaker is plug one wire into the power of the wall, and then plug one Cat5 cable right over here, and that Cat5 cable receives the sound. And everything else is done inside the speaker, what's called a crossover, the equalization, the amplification. Everything is nicely contained in here, so that those racks of equipment you'll see in a big home theater are gone. Everything is just done inside here. It's more efficient, works better, and has less problems.
Now you said connected with a Cat5 cable, so this is essentially a networked device.
It's a network device. Now, the audio comes in through the network, and also we can ping the speaker through the network. So we can, from the comfort of any cell phone anywhere, if you want, you can actually go, hey, is my speaker at home working? But you know, it doesn't really matter. But if you're relying on integrators to make sure that your speaker is working, let's say you're coming home from your multi-million-dollar job, and you have friends coming over, and you want to make sure that your home cinema system works because you're going to watch a movie together. You can actually either look at your cell phone and go, is it all working? It's all working. Or you can contact your integrator and go, can you make sure that my system's working? And with one ping, they can run a self-diagnostic test and make sure everything is right.
Well, I got to tell you, I have heard these speakers. I heard first a stereo pair at CEDIA, at the CEDIA show, and just yesterday a multi-channel array in a home theater setup, and the sound quality is phenomenal.
Thank you.
Just phenomenal. It won best sound at CEDIA by many people, including myself. And one thing that was really cool was, as you walk between a pair of speakers, of these speakers, you can walk almost up to this point right here and still hear a nice stereo image. Wow. That, I assume, is because of this waveguide technology that's sitting here, because it's so evenly distributed across the horizontal plane. I mean, it's a wonderful achievement. One other thing we want to talk about is this cabinet.
Yeah. So one of the things we run into sometimes is that wood cabinetry is sensitive to breakage or humidity, and is heavy. So we actually made this out of tungsten impregnated urethane.
Say that 5 times fast.
Tongue twister.
Indeed.
Which actually gives us a lot of benefits, including the fact that it's a lot more rigid, a lot more damped, easier to make the shape we want, and also more resistant to droppage and breakage during shipment.
Okay. So UPS will have a harder time damaging it.
Them or the other guys.
Technology is doing amazing things, as evidenced by this with sound. Like I never imagined that a pair of speakers could be designed to the point where you could be anywhere in the stereo field and still get kind of an equal stereo field out of it. Will technology ever fix your room is not a perfect room for audio problem, do you think?
There's a number of things you can do in designing the speaker so that it's more room independent, for one, and you can actually tune the speaker to correct for some of the room issues. I'll be honest, as an acoustician, if the room is all echoey, you can't stop that. Once the sound is launched, it's going ping, 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 ping. You got to control it in the room. So the answer is yes and no.
All right, there we go.
So who is this aimed at? I mean, these are pretty expensive.
Right. The first set of customers is high-end home cinema owners who want to have their private cinema, maybe 2 or 3 rows of seating, and who are spending this amount of money actually already on more traditional loudspeakers, but who are forward-thinking. So people who may look at a Tesla car and go, "That's cool. You know, there's a lot of invention in there. That's a cool thing." It's people who are progressive. and who want reliability, want great sound, want connectivity.
Another reason for that guy from Helena, Montana, to put in his parents' home Cat 6 everywhere, right? Because they could put in a set of these speakers.
Right.
Yeah, if he's got a little cash left over after,
building the house.
After building
Well, Tony, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate the opportunity to look at this wonderful speaker, and I really appreciate the opportunity to hear it. I hope you guys get a chance to hear it at some point.
I would love to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right on.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming. We have coming up here Chris Marquardt, photo guru. You know Chris Marquardt, he's been on the show before. When is the best time to take pictures? He says it all comes down to trusting your gut.
Hey, it's Chris Marquardt again with yet another photo tip. Find out more about me at discoverthetopfloor.com. I want to talk about trusting your gut. There are so many situations where you get this impulse from somewhere down here to take a shot, but then something up here says, nah, that's not a good shot, and you don't take it. Trust your gut a bit more. That impulse is there for a reason. So take a few more pictures, trust your gut more. You can always delete them later. That was it for today.
Trust your gut. Those impulses. Do you listen to your inner impulse?
Absolutely. Every time.
It's important.
It's really
usually
important.
right.
Yeah, well, often. Let's say often. Usually that might be a little too much, but yeah.
I know at least in music production, it's the times where I detach myself from trying to make something happen, and instead just kind of settle into that trust aspect.
Yeah,
so I think it's just that way in creative.
It is. In anything you do creative, it is absolutely that way. And when it works, it's magic.
Oh, it's totally.
Man.
You get those butterflies.
Yeah. The hair standing up on you. Yeah. That's really wonderful stuff.
Excellent. All right, so hey, we're gonna go to another caller. Hey, this is a name I know, Jason from Sydney, Australia. How's it going, Jason?
Hi, pretty good, thanks.
It's good to have you here. So explain to us what you got going on here. You've got a question about phones.
Yes, I do. I just wanted to try and find out more information about the new Sony Xperia phones. I've been using one myself for a few years, the older versions. And every once in a while, I keep getting the heating up issue. And I was just wondering if you know of first-hand experience of that happening with the new ones.
I'm going to be completely honest with you and tell you that I have not had my hands on the new Z5 line of Sony phones yet. I would love to. It's really weird. It's like everywhere outside of the US, Sony as an Android phone, at least, manufacturer, in the US doesn't quite get the, I think, the respect that it deserves. So yeah, we haven't got one in-house. I know that we need to. They have the Z5 Compact, and then soon to be the Z5 Premium. So you've got a few different choices there. I'm sure you've read up all about those phones, right?
I've done what I could, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they look and sound like excellent phones, obviously, covering the gamut from kind of mid-range all the way up to super premium. The fingerprint sensor on the side sounds awesome. I'd love to play around with that because that seems to be all the rage right now in Android devices, and having it on the side seems like a great location for that. I'm very curious to find out how it works. You're talking about heat. Snapdragon 810 inside the Z5. I have, and I'm sure I've read some of the same sources that you have, but the 810 is known to be a hot processor. It's known to run hot. They have a second version that's kind of hit, but still, like, I have the Nexus 6P right here, the Huawei device, and it still runs a little hot, like when you're installing apps when you first set it up, but on a day-to-day basis, not quite so much. So I'm pretty sure that the A10 that's in here is probably the newer version. Qualcomm kind of caught a lot of heat, so to speak, for this. And so, they really tried to kind of rectify it before they move on to the next chipset. So it does have it. I've read that, it doesn't heat up horribly. I'm guessing, like I said, it's probably very similar to my 6P. It does have a great camera. And, these days I feel like the camera in phones is pretty high, at least on my list, though there's no optical image stabilization. If you're asking my opinion without having, my hands on this device, they sound great. I really want to play around with them, and I wish I had a better answer for you. It's hard for me to fully recommend a phone that I haven't played around with specifically myself in my hands, but I can say that, well, there's this new hotness called the Nexus 6P that I can highly recommend because I've been playing around with this for a couple of weeks, and it has a lot of the same things that that you might be looking into the Sony Xperia line for. What exactly out of a smartphone do you want, and why the Z5 over anything else?
I've just grown used to the Sony one over the past few years. I like that it's got a bit of integration with some of my other things, like I can get the PlayStation 4 to connect to it and do games on the screen if I want to be real quiet and inconspicuous about it. I love the camera and the shutter button that's built into the actual phone itself. And
great reasons.
Just in general, it feels right to me now. It's what I'm used to.
Yeah, I think it's very easy, and I know I'm guilty of this too. When it comes to Sony, and you're right, they take their phones and they kind of integrate it with their own hardware. Samsung does a little bit of this too. It's very easy for me to take but nobody ever really does that. But it turns out if you've got a bunch of Sony, pieces of hardware, and it does integrate perfectly with your phone, I mean, now you're kind of talking about iOS and Apple devices.
That's why I'm an iOS guy.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So that's a hard thing to kind of deny yourself if you know why that's so awesome. I can't say that I've lived in that world because at least for the last however many years, I'm always in the Nexus world, and getting those updates, ends up superseding other things like that. But that sounds pretty awesome. So I don't know, what to say other than I think you're probably on the right track. If you like the Z2 and you like what you're seeing with the Z5, the reviews that I've read and the people that I've talked to about it, we've had plenty of people that have played around with it on All About Android here on the Twit network. They say they're great phones. So I don't think you can go wrong. If you like that kind of ecosystem play, I think you should go for it. So.
Okay, thanks. That's great.
All right, cool. Well, thank you so much for Skyping in, and really appreciate it. Take care. What time is it there, by the way, in Australia?
It's just after 11 a.m.
Oh, okay. So you're about to hit lunch.
Yeah.
Your coffee's wearing off. You might want to get another cup of coffee.
Getting ready, yeah.
All right, cool. All right. Take care, Jason. Thanks for calling. All right. If you want us to answer your tech questions, we can do that. Here's how.
Need tech help? The new screensavers are here with answers. Email your tech questions to newscreensavers@twit.tv.
And up next, Leo's going to talk with some of the folks from the STEAM Carnival.
Man, I'm looking forward to that.
I know, it's so cool.
Yeah.
They were on Triangulation not too long ago, earlier this week, and it was a really, really cool interview. Leo talks with them here, and so he's going to tell you all about mixing science and art with fun. Just a whole lot of stuff, cool stuff to look at.
Sounds like my life.
I know, right? Yeah. Tell me about it. When you work in a place like Twit, where you're surrounded by technology, that's what it's all about.
Right.
But before we move on, let's thank the final sponsor of today's episode. I'm so thrilled because I love Audible. It's obviously sponsored by Audible. Audible is amazing. So the last time I was on the Screensavers, the new Screensavers with Leo, we had the chance to interview Andy Weir of The Martian. Obviously the movie just hit the theaters, and I was caught in a little bit of an interesting situation because I had not read the book yet. We were interviewing him, and I felt like not so hot at that point.
All right.
But I made the promise that I would go on Audible and I would listen to the audiobook, and I'm happy to say that I'm about halfway through it. I started it like 3 days ago, and suddenly I can't stop. It's so good. I'm not a huge fan of fiction, but I love this.
That's amazing. Well, Andy did such a great job with his book. I read the book first, and I went and saw the movie. I think you haven't seen the movie yet.
I have not. I wanted to do.
You want to do the book first? I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
But it's an awesome book.
Yeah, it's really good. Audible.com is the leading provider of audiobooks. More than 180,000 downloadable titles across all types of literature, fiction, nonfiction. Nonfiction is my favorite. I've read so many rock bios and all that kind of stuff, as well as periodicals. And listeners of the new Screensavers, Audible is offering a free audiobook. So you can give it a chance. Try out their service for yourself. I just finished Tune In, the Beatles, all these years. It's like a 45-hour biography about their first kind of third of their career. It leads right up to when they start to break in the U.S.
Wow.
And he's working on the next two volumes. 43 hours, 48 minutes. So it's not a short read. It literally took me like 4 or 5 months because I listened in little bits and pieces here and there. But it was fascinating. So good. Just tons of books for you to check out. You can download any of these audiobooks that we talked about for free or another one of your choice. All you got to do is go to audiblepodcast.com/NSS. Oh no, now I got to Catch a Wave, The Rise, Fall, and Redemption of the Beach Boys, Brian Wilson.
Oh man, that sounds like a good one to me.
No, it sounds awesome. This is like this is my cup of tea right here. That's my sweet spot. It's audiblepodcast.com/NSS, and you're going to get a free audiobook by going there and checking it out. And we thank Audible for their support of this show. All right, hey, Leo talked with the folks at the STEAM Carnival. You might be asking yourself, what is a STEAM Carnival? That's what we're going to find out right now.
I'm so excited to have Eric Gradman here. He is the mad inventor at a company called 2-Bit Circus out of Los Angeles. A really interesting idea. You guys have been around for a few years building amazing exhibits and events and experiences. It's probably the better word, isn't it? Experiences.
Experiences.
For NFL, for NASCAR, for company events at Intel and other places. But now you're going public, and I love this idea.
So we are bringing what we call our STEAM Carnival. STEAM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Art, and Math. We're bringing it to Pier 48, San Francisco this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And this is an event. I got to set the picture for you. You're going to walk into this pier. It's a huge warehouse, 100,000 square feet, and you're going to come face to face with crazy carnival games that we have reinvented with high technology, new technology, lasers, robots, and fire. And here's our goal. Our goal is that you walk in and you have a good time. You have a really good time. And then we pull back the curtain on all the tech and we explain how we do what we do, how we build this stuff. We want to inspire the next generation of inventors and engineers and artists. And we don't care if you're already into those things, right? Because these games are going to get you excited. They're going to get you playing. And then you're going to want to know more. And it doesn't matter who you are, adult, kid, everyone has fun. And everyone learns something and everyone leaves with a smile on their face from the STEAM Carnival.
Your background is as an engineer, right?
Correct.
But also performer.
Yep, I have a little bit of both. My background is in robotics, primarily. I was also a circus performer for many years. But I love both. I love performance and I love technology. And 2-Bit Circus really brings together, I think, both of those things.
Tell us about some of the things at the STEAM Carnival.
Okay, I'll tell you about some of the things at the STEAM Carnival. I'm going to get back to the games. I want to tell you about some games in a second. But beyond just the games, we have workshops for kids to build their own stuff.
Oh, nice.
Right?
Okay.
One thing is we try
with a hammer and nails, or with what?
With electronics, with foam and cardboard, and
So there's a physical element, but there's also an Arduino, or
correct. There's electronics workshops. There's building workshops. You get to come build your own thing and leave with it in your hand.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's cool.
Oh, yeah. Kids are going to get to build stuff. There's also stage shows, right? We're bringing some really smart people in to give entertaining and inspirational talks about engineering, science, technology, art, all these things.
You want to spend all day at this, it sounds like.
Oh, yeah. People don't
need to get people excited about science, technology, engineering, and math, and I love it that you put A in there.
Art,
you put
right
some art in the middle of it.
Art right in the middle. The engineering that we do is an art.
Yes.
And presenting it in a way that's inspirational to kids is the art. And, one thing that we do at the carnival is we try and like latch on to people's latent interests, right? Do you like music? We have things involving music that will expose you to more engineering and science, right? Do you like fashion? No matter what you like, that's an entry point to being inspired to make your own stuff. I'll tell you, all of the games at the carnival sort of have that effect on people, right? What happens? You walk up to a social game. You walk up to a game where everyone is laughing and playing together.
Right.
We got one. It's called Off Your Rocker Racing. Off Your Rocker Racing is a bunch of wooden rocking horses that we made in our shop.
Okay.
And each one of them has a sensor in them.
Okay.
And they can measure your rate of rocking.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And on screen, there's an avatar of your horse. And it's a race.
I totally see where you're going.
You have 6 people all lined up on their horses, rocking back and forth. There's a button. There's a boost button. You got to hit the boost button.
I want to do this.
Come to the carnival. It's going to be so much fun.
God, that sounds so much
So
fun.
there's a boost button, and when you hit the boost button, we'll say a hot expulsion of gas comes out of the back of the horse.
Oh my God!
And
actual.
No, on screen.
Oh, good.
On screen.
Okay.
We didn't want to injure.
You could
anyone.
work on that. Just
Yep,
a little,
totally.
a little gas bottle under there.
Yep. That's a
Wow.
good idea. Maybe I should put a little propane fire in the back there. Maybe not for this event, because doing things with fire requires special permission from the fire marshal.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna use that silver bullet and ask for one fire thing, you better make it count, which is why we're bringing our dunk tank flambe. So you know the dunk tank, right? The standard dunk tank. You throw a beanbag or a ball at the target, and your parent or your teacher or your friend falls into a vat of water.
Right.
Well, we replace the water with fire. And so this is me getting into
You're
a
gonna do this?
fireproof
Oh,
suit.
thank God you've got that.
Oh, yeah. And
oh my God, you're getting into an incinerator. And then people throw. Oh, kids must enjoy this.
Oh, they love it.
Because you're mocking them now. Is it hot in there?
It is. It's very hot in there.
Oh, that's mean. Oh, at the same time, kind of exhilarating.
It's pretty awesome. Let me tell you, being in there is amazing. So we are going to have this at the carnival.
Eventually you're gonna travel with this, right?
So the STEAM Carnival is going on the road.
Good.
It's going to be going nationwide, and we'll have more information about that as soon as this carnival is done.
If you want to know more, 2bitcircus.com is the company. SteamCarnival.com is the site where you can get tickets for the Steam Carnival going on this week and learn more about Steam Carnival and future appearances after this event is over. Eric, it's such a pleasure. If people want to, and trust me, you do want to know more about this and more about Eric and 2-Bit Circus, we did a whole triangulation interview, about an hour-and-a-half interview, that's available on our feeds from earlier this week. Triangulation is at twit.tv/TRI. You'll find it right there on the top. Thank you. Really nice to meet you.
Yeah,
Have
great talking with
fun.
I want to go.
Me too.
I actually want to get dunked in the fire tank.
I think I'll pass on that
I don't
one.
think they'll let me do that, though. You wouldn't do it?
Nah.
You're gonna be in a suit. It's okay.
Yeah, you'd be in a suit. Yeah, it's all right. I'll throw the beanbag while you're in the suit.
yes.
Okay.
All right, deal. I'll take you up on that. Coming up in a few, we're gonna take your viewer mail, but first, do you have annoying people that just won't stop contacting you via email? Harry McCracken does, and here's his tip on how to make it stop.
I'm Harry McCracken, technology editor at Fast Company, and I basically live my life out of Gmail, where I do both my work email and my personal email. And after many, many years, Gmail finally added a feature I've wished it had all along, which is the ability to easily block senders. Up until now, if there was someone you never wanted to hear from, you needed to set up a rule to get rid of them. Super complicated. Now, if you're in a message, if you pull open the little menu of options for that message, one of them is block, and you can block that email address. It's perfect both for spam, also for folks who aren't quite spammers, but whom you really don't need to hear from, or who are pestering you. So it's going to save me a lot of time from now on. And if you use Gmail, maybe it can help you too. That's my tip for today. I'm Harry McCracken, and you can follow me at fastcompany.com.
What does it mean that the B-roll was blocking Tanya's email? What is that all about? Tanya, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. We are going to take some of your mail in the mailbag.
In the mailbag. Oh, look.
Oh, you're getting a little fresh here, mailbag. Okay, let's take a look. Yeah, just any more beef stew, no big deal.
We'll take that later.
Okay. That's just how it goes. You learn to expect Dinty more when you work into it. All right. Oh, okay. So here we go. Mike in Cincinnati writes in to say, I've recently upgraded our family PC to Windows 10. And we were thinking, since it's located in our family room, it might be fun to use Cortana like the Amazon Echo if possible. It's a desktop PC with no built-in microphone, so I'm figuring I'd need one that could pick up your voices from across the room or even in the adjacent rooms. Can you recommend a relatively inexpensive, less than $100 microphone for this? Thanks. So I don't know exactly the microphone that I recommend, because I think the use case here is you want a microphone that in a room can pick up from wherever you happen to be. And the Amazon Echo happens to be excellent at this.
Okay.
Supposedly. I want to play around with it, but I haven't.
Right.
So kind of thinking that maybe you get some sort of like a boundary style microphone.
I think what you need is some sort of conference room mic, you know, like if you're having a meeting around a table and you're conferencing with somebody else. And there are a number of these, and you're right, exactly. A boundary microphone, that is one that sits on a table or on a wall or on the ceiling and can pick up sound from any direction. This is called omnidirectional, right? And you would think that all boundary mics like that would be omnidirectional. They're not.
Which is really weird when
Really
you're talking
weird.
about a conference room environment. Why would you want to be specific to one, one
I looked up
aspect
a few of these, and one of them is from Audio-Technica, one of my favorite microphone companies. And I suspect that one, the Pro 44 and the Pro 42, which are not Omni, are meant more for musical applications. So I went again and looked at conference mics specifically, and I found several actually that looked like they would be pretty good. The Olympus ME33 boundary mic, less than $100, Omni. The promo for it says that it will actually work from a far distance, and that's partly what he was asking for.
Right.
Maybe even from another room. Now, I don't think it would work that good for that. But the problem with it is that it's only an analog connection. It's not USB.
Not the end of the world.
Not the end of the world.
But when you're talking about, but that does incur extra costs, right? Like the requirement here is less than $100.
Right.
I think that's going to be kind of a challenge.
Well, I actually found three.
Oh, okay.
I found one from a company called Samson.
Okay.
Called the UB1. That's right around $100. MXL, which is the microphone company for Marshall, you know, like the Marshall amps you see on rock concerts. MXL AC404, I think, is $80 or so, $90, something like that. The one I would probably go to first is the CAD. CAD stands for California Audio Design, I think. The U7, excellent mic company, really great. I mean, they make really high-end, really good mics, so I would probably trust them to make a really good boundary mic as well. And
there we go.
There you go.
U7 USB.
Yeah, exactly.
$53 on Amazon.
Yeah, there you go. And the good thing about a boundary mic is that you place it on a big flat surface, and so sounds get to it really easily.
You can put it on a wall or even
the ceiling. Yeah. Of course, you'd have to have the cord on the ceiling. You know, you might want to hide that in some way or another. But you know, that's what I came up with.
Interesting. Okay. And I mean, you could go the hardware route with a 1/4-inch connector, but then you're talking about some sort of conversion to USB. And any of those that I was looking into, Father Robert Ballester sent me a couple to kind of look into. Right off the top, you're talking like $200 because the conversion is $100, and then the microphone's $100, and suddenly you're blowing up twice as expensive. Another thought I had was the Connect One. If you could get that to talk to your Windows environment, I mean, Connect is meant for this, but with Xbox. I wonder if there's some sort of a really nice nerdy way to get it to work with a Windows.
You know, I
PC.
don't know. If this person has an Xbox, that might tip the scales towards trying to go that way.
Yeah, or get an Amazon Echo. They're tried, tested, and true. You know they're going to work. And use your PC for something else.
Right.
Hope that helps, Mike. Okay, we have another email, and this is from Dolores in St. Louis. Says, I've been using iTV, that's EYE, iTV for the Mac to record TV for years. I just found out they no longer sell their hardware in North America.
Isn't that weird?
But they still sell their hardware, just
they
not
do,
North
just
America.
not in North America. In fact, I verified that. I contacted Elgato, the company that makes iTV.
Yeah.
I said, is it true? I just heard you don't sell your hardware in the U.S. anymore? Nope, we don't.
That's a bummer. So, you know, it sounds like as a longtime user, Dolores wants to know if there are any good replacements for the iTV.
Good news is there are. There is a very good one from a company called Silicon Dust, which I know Robert Heron, who's a regular on many shows here at TWiT, likes the company a lot. And it's called the HD Home Run, and there's 4 different models. But one of them, in particular, called the Connect, is $130. And it works with the ITV software. That's the important thing. The ITV software is what's called the Electronic Program Guide, or EPG. It tells you what's coming on, which channel, and so on and so forth. Lets you program what you're going to record when. But now that you no longer have the hardware, you need to get something else. And this HD Home Run Connect works with the ITV software. So that's the best solution, absolutely. They make a couple other models. The HD Home Run Prime works with cable cards, so I don't know if that person said they were over the air or
they didn't
cable.
mention that. I'm assuming over the air, but
yeah, I would too. But it doesn't seem to support the Mac. It doesn't, at least on their website. It doesn't mention Mac, whereas the Kinect it does.
Yeah.
And the other one that they make is the Home Run Extend, which works with OTA over the air as well. But it also doesn't mention anything about supporting Mac. So the HD Home Run Connect is the one I would recommend, because we know it works with ITV on the Mac. Should be a no-brainer.
Dolores, I feel like you're asking this question because I feel like I'm looking into a crystal ball for my own future, because we are about to get rid of Comcast and officially, finally, cut the cable. But you know, it's really hard to consider doing that because DVR, you get so used to having the DVR capability and all that kind of stuff. So what are my alternatives? I don't know if I can live in this world, but I'm going to try and see, because I don't need to be with Comcast anymore.
No, I can see now, especially with streaming like Netflix.
Yeah, no, I mean that's all we do our watching on Netflix, and I buy movies on Play Movies, and you know, we can do Hulu. There are plenty of alternatives.
There sure are.
We're spoiled for options.
Now, then there's live sports, which and usually you can get on over-the-air network.
Get an antenna, get something like that, record it if you need to.
Yep.
Yeah. So, great, thanks. Gonna look into that. Scott Wilkinson, this was a lot of fun.
Really, a lot of fun. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming on up and helping Leo out while he's partying with his son.
Yeah.
Where can people, what do you want to plug? Where do you want people
to
find
my website is avsforum.com. AVS stands for Audio Video Science, world's largest online community of audio video geeks. Nice. Over 1 million members. And that is where I live online for the most part. And you can always email me at scott@twit.tv. I answer a lot of questions. I also do, of course, my podcast here on the Twit Network, which is called Home Theater Geeks. Records Thursdays, 2 to 3 p.m. Pacific time, 5 to 6 Eastern time. And on that show, I interview all sorts of various people from the industry about whatever they're into. Anthony Grimani has been on the show a couple times.
Not just audio topics, also a lot of video.
Video as well.
A lot of audio. It's a good mix.
Yeah. And acoustics as well, and just about anything, as Leo says, anything with a chip in it. Well, for me, it's anything that squawks or looks like something.
Fair enough, fair enough. All right, so Home Theater Geeks, definitely check it out if you haven't already.
That's twit.tv/HTG.
There we go. Right on, Scott. Thank you.
Thank you.
And you can find me at about.me/Jason Howell. That's all you need to know. Other than that, all about Android here on the Twit Network. But that's it for this show, man. It's been so much fun.
It zipped right by.
I know. It usually does.
It usually
Leading
does.
up to it, you're like, are we gonna hit on every point? And then suddenly you blink and it's done.
Right.
So that's just the sign of a good show.
Zippity-doo-dah.
You can subscribe to the show. Just go to twit.tv/NSS for new screensavers. Subscribe info is there. You can find it on YouTube. It's youtube.com/thenewscreensavers. And you can send us an email. Be a part of the show. Maybe we'll bring you on in the Skype window, or answer your email in the mailbag. That's newscreensavers@twit.tv. But I think that about does it for this episode of the New Screensavers. Leo, I hope you don't return with too nasty a hangover. See you guys later.
Bye.
That's everything that we can look forward to. Why don't we get started with the hot topic of the week? I guess there's no roll for that, right?
I was expecting one too.
There we go. I'll go ahead. I'll just go ahead and throw my card. Maybe that'll work.
Yeah.
All right, cool.